So let's remind ourselves of everything that we need to do. Not that one. There we go. Obviously, you need to fill in this part. Now, where do you get the results for table 2? On Teams. Excellent. Show your RF calculations for table 3 here. You'll have this. There's some approved dyes for comparison. And then analysis of results, you're going to answer all of those questions. And follow-up questions, you're going to answer all of those questions. And then for the conclusion, you're going to write a conclusion. And you're also going to remember that you're going to follow all these little things that tell you how to score well on the chromatography lab. And yeah, questions? Yes.
So on question number 4, it's like, why should green be qualified as a, or no, why should green be qualified as a mixture and the other one should not? I don't really understand.
Okay, so the question number 4 that we want to go over is number 4. Why should green food coloring be classified as a mixture, whereas yellow, blue, and red should not? So when we had our chromatography paper, whoops, and we had the green, what did you see on the green one? It split up into what? We had a green one, we had a blue, and we had a yellow, okay? Now, so that was green. Now when we ran the blue chromatogram, what did we see? Someone who did blue. Who did blue? What did you see? Blue. And when we had a red, we saw red. Okay, and when we had yellow, what did we see? We saw yellow. Now, how do we know that this one is a mixture and that these are not mixtures? You have 2 different spots with 2 different RF values. So you know you have 2 different components with 2 different sets of physical properties. two different dyes with two different sets of properties. One is more soluble in the water, one is less soluble in the water. One is blue, one is yellow. Yeah? Therefore, you have a mixture. Whereas when you have yellow, you have one dye, just one component, one set of properties, and therefore it must be a pure substance. It's all yellow, it's all the same solubility in water, it all sticks to the paper the same amount. Does that? Yes? Cool. Other questions? Quantitatively, that means the data. So when we look at, say, our analysis questions, and quite frankly, something happened really bad here. In question number 1, I was reading it and I'm like, oh my God, there's like a half a sentence and then the other sentence starts. So one thing that you want to make sure you pay attention to is that if you have an RF value within 0.05 of the standard dyes, that's from table 4, that can be considered a likely match. So as long as you're within 0.05, so let's say that the class average for blue was 0.97. Let's just say the RF was 0.97. Would that match any of the dyes here within 0.05? And remember, we had blue 0.97. Does that match any of the dyes here? It's close to blue number 1. Anything else? Would it be okay to say this blue dye is close to yellow number 5? Why not? Because blue is not yellow. Okay, yeah. You'd be shocked how often I get that. I identified my blue dye as yellow number 5. And I'm like, no, you did not. No. That's impossible. Okay, but I know how it happens. People are just getting excited about the numbers and they're like, oh, it matches. You know, you get a 0.95 and you're like, it's exactly the same. It must be that. Yeah, anyway. Don't get excited by that. It's more likely to be blue number 1. Even if you get 0.95, it's definitely not a yellow, okay? And then, so that's what you're going to, and then if you have a value further than 0.05, it should say, it is likely not a match. And I don't know how that part got left out, but hopefully you managed to interpret that even though it was missing half a sentence. Then for table number 3, you're going to say, okay, I had some green, and the green was made of blue, and it was made of yellow, and you're going to take your RFs for those ones. Maybe this is 0.97, and this is 0.86. I don't know what they actually were. Okay, we'll just say they were that. And you could say, oh, the blue is like blue number 1. And the yellow, if we did end up with an RF that was 0.86, let's take a look here and see what we could say about it. Is that close enough to yellow number 6 or yellow number 5? 0.86. it's not close enough to either of them, so you could say, no, it doesn't really match either of them. On the other hand, if you got like 0.9, you could say it's close to yellow number 5. If you got even 82, you could say it's close to yellow number 6. Okay, so it's going to be based on your results. All right, so make your comparisons. The other thing you're going to do with your blue and yellow spots from the green is you're also going to compare them to the class averages. Okay, so you're going to say, I have my class average here, I have my class average here, I have my class average here. When I had my green spot, let's say I had blue with 0.97, and let's say the class average for blue was 0.95, you could say, oh, that's a likely match. Yes? And let's say my yellow was 0.86, and the class average for yellow, I'm totally making these numbers up. These are not the real numbers, okay? And the class average was 0.88, you could say, oh, that's a match too. And then if I had red, which was 0.5, and this was 0.7, you could say, oh, that's not a match. Okay? So you'll be comparing them, and you'll be telling me what the difference is and saying, yes, it's a likely match because it is within 0.05, or no, it's not a likely match because it's not within 0.5. And if you're like right on, I had someone with like, it was like 0.051. And they're like, can I say it's that? And I'm like, as long as you justify your answer, right? And you're like, it could be, because it's almost close enough. I'd be okay with that, you know, as long as you kind of justify your answer with how close it is. Okay? So those are the analysis questions. Were there any other questions from the analysis or the follow-up that anyone wanted to go over? Okay, if I were to give you about 20 minutes to work on the lab right now, would that be a good thing? And then, you know, you can ask questions of me if you come across anything. And then we will have a short lesson following this on the mole. And yeah, you can hand in your lab tomorrow. Alrighty?